Welcome. This is Potatoes Gang. And the subject today, the gender challenge. The gender gap report from the World Economic Forum was published not too long ago. Nigeria again fared very, very, very poorly. And as I was reflecting on it, it occurred to me that during the course of 2019, in the course of my travels, engagements, ran into a woman minister from Rwanda responsible for trade and investments. And she gets profiled so much. But what's interesting about her is that she's not just one person out there. More than half the parliament in Rwanda is female. Indeed, the challenge of dealing with gender even came home in a remarkable way, because I was reading the report on my way to dinner, invited by the British Deputy High Commissioner in Nigeria, here in Lagos, was a woman. The High Commissioner in Abuja happens to be a woman. The Consul General at the US Embassy in Lagos is a woman. The Ambassador in Abuja is a woman. And the Deputy Chief of Mission in Abuja is a woman. Now, in the midst of all of these things around us, Nigeria, a place where the middle class like to educate its children, male and female, very well, the Nigerian woman still lags so far behind. In political arena, hardly any presence, really. Corporate world, I even have a feeling we're retarded, because, really speaking, it is foolish for any society to underutilize more than 50% or at least 50% of its population. Can't compete with those who utilize the population pool of talent 100%. What's probably responsible for this?
I believe very strongly that the role model effect is affecting the male folk in Nigeria, and then we are adding a lot of tradition and culture into it. And women, because of tradition and culture, they've been so suppressed, and we're all still trying to, come out of where culture and tradition has put us. In a situation where the most powerful man in Nigeria is relegating women to 3 rooms in the house, one just wonders.
Which are these rooms?
The 3 rooms. The kitchen.
So I can look for the rooms when I go into.
Yes, the kitchen, the sitting room, and the bedroom. That's the other room. The other room. Okay, the other room. So it doesn't really matter how much women, want to achieve and how much they can achieve. They are by reason of the fact that we have to coexist with our male counterparts. They still have, they're suppressed. And a woman who tries to fight her way out of it, is labeled. And so many women shy away from being labeled, being stigmatized, as being feminist. It's a shame, actually. Nigeria is 183 out of 193 countries. It's a shame. And we have half of our population, 90 million of us, 70% of that 90 million living below poverty line are women.
But you see, this is even more irritating for me personally, because I think that in many professional situations, women are even more competent than men for a variety of reasons. One, nature of ambition is such that men are not patient enough to learn anything. My favorite example is banking. Back in those days when there was a banking boom, a lot of young men would, in 4 years, go from assistant officer to general manager, jumping from one bank to the other. Because there wasn't enough social pressure, or there wasn't such social pressure on women, the women stayed back in one place and actually learned banking. I used to say in my classes, the Lagos Business School back in those days, that Funke Oshibodu was easily the best treasurer in Nigerian banking because she stayed back at Citibank and learned the business of banking. So if there is such a significant level of more competent women, and women are so absent, we must have a tradition of mediocrity in our country. How are we going to reverse this? Not just thinking women, but thinking country. How can the country have its best people getting things done?
Let's put it in this funny way. This matter came up in the House of Assembly, and there's a particular representative from Kano. When he got up to address this, he says, Mr. Speaker, we have to be very careful about these women. You come to the house, they oppress you, and everything you have, you give to them. Now we are talking about them coming again to come and share this space with us, Mr. Speaker. No, it doesn't make too much sense. Everybody laughed. He wasn't joking. He meant every single word. As far as he was concerned, exactly what our head of state said. You belong to 3 places. If you now want to come here and we begin to have arguments on the floor of the house, then we become a minister and we have to bow to you. Culture.
I think it's really steeped in culture. Just looking at the things that women go through, from even the simplest ones. For example, if you were to get into a bus, public transport, and you wanted to sit in front, you'll be told to go to the back because you're a woman. Women, yeah, that happens, Yes, you'll be told to go to the back. You're a woman, you shouldn't, or if you wanted to sit by the window of that vehicle because maybe it's not air conditioned, you'll be told to go to the side or go to the back because you're a woman. In case of an accident, maybe you don't. So it's really steeped in culture. And I believe, I don't know whether it's always been like this, but I think that is something that we should look at. And then the Nigerian laws are not friendly to women. I know that, for example, that we have a customary law that permits a man to discipline his wife. And in this day and time, I don't think we should have such laws, even though Lagos State and maybe some states have signed the non-violence laws against women, but it's still in the Nigerian constitution that a man can discipline his wife so far as she doesn't go to the hospital for 21 days and above. So these are some of the things that do not allow women to thrive in our society.
There's a lot of violence against women, kinds of issues that go into this mix of keeping women down. There seems to be a lot of, I guess, new kind of awareness on this matter. But what can be done to prevent people from reducing the dignity of the woman through violence at home or anywhere else?
I was at a university convocation ceremony some time back, and believe it or not, when they called all the first class, they were all females. They called 2-1s, majority of them were females. When they called the first male 2-1, the whole congregation stood up and said, my goodness. But then I looked, it's a very sorry state, actually. Something goes wrong between when this lady graduates from school and when she gets into life proper, gets married, and then life starts to happen. Something goes wrong somewhere. Something beats her back into shape. And that's the thing we need to search for and correct. This is a girl who is a first-class material, and then she's coming to marry a 2-2, 2-1, or even a third class. Already she's getting in there with a great disadvantage. The guy is threatened. There are not too many young men who are not threatened. So she starts from somehow to mentally subjugate herself so that she can fit into that marriage mold, so that she can, and then she takes that mentality to work.
It boils down to patriarchy. If you ask me, it boils down to patriarchy, really, because we find that even women are enabling this culture, customs and traditions. So if a woman, for example, were to, go to her parents and say, look, I can't
take it anymore.
I can't take it anymore. This man is beating me up. And, you find even the mother saying, you know what, maybe we'll talk to him, go back. I mean, it's not in our tradition to have people who have, gone to their husband's house and have come out. So what society can do in all of this really is, number one for me, is to establish safe houses, around the country. Because one of the reasons that women don't leave domestic violence situations is because of, one, economic reasons, and then the fact that the society does not approve of women, to leave their husbands or to be divorcees. So if safe houses can be established for women, then that will go a long way to help them, leave such situations. Because what happens is, if this man has been hitting you for so long, and at some point the woman decides, you know what, I can't take it anymore. I've gone to my mom, I've gone to the pastor, I've gone to my friends, and they all want me to stay back because society does not deem this as okay. One day she's pushed against the wall, and then she takes out a knife to defend herself, and then she becomes a murderer, just because she had nowhere to go.
Let me address something else so we don't focus too much on physical violence. There is also the aspect of mental violence. I'll give you an example. I don't do divorce cases. 10 years ago, a lady walked into my office and said somebody recommended for her to come. I said, what do I do for you? She says she wants to divorce her husband. Then I started asking this question. Does he beat you? No. Does he maltreat you? Not really. All the questions, I just couldn't find anything. I said to her, listen, why do you want to go? And I started trying to counsel her, to say, look, you already have kids, don't do this, don't do that. Because of your children, there should be a balance. A broken home affects the children. And you know what she said? And I'll never forget it. She said, I doubt if you can really understand what it takes to live with a man that has problems with his self-esteem. When she said that, I was humbled. A man that has problems with his self-esteem, in which case anything you say, is it because you're so and so manager in so and so place? Anything you do, is it because? Now you find that automatically the man has a complex, but he's married to a lady he will prefer, why are you not in the other room and beneath me, but it looks like in the eyes of the society, you're up there. What would I say to that? Are we ready? The answer is no.
I feel that parents...
Shall we get there? It depends on you.
We will definitely get there.
When you say you, do you mean women or...
I mean women.
Women will get there. Women are beginning to have a voice. One thing that we must understand is that we can build safe houses, but you will be surprised that you won't see any woman there. We need to first of all start changing the mentality of
mindset.
Women.
It's critical.
We need to start letting them know that you can stand by yourself and that society may frown, but society does not live your life for you. So we need to also let them understand that they have a right to let their voices be heard. So look at the Busola Dakolo thing. Many women would have backed down, but women came together and they're propping this lady up and saying, you can do this. Let your voice continue to be heard. You bail the cat so that other women can also see you as a role model and emulate you.
Okay, let's just hold that thought. We'll go and bail some cats. And while those cats are getting bailed, we'll hear from people on the streets and we'll come back. This is Potatoes Gang.
When the government is saying that way, it will be reduced. We don't want people that are just striving to get there.
I believe there is women's rights in this country, but the major problem is the women themselves. They are not fighting for themselves. In a situation whereby a woman will come out, okay, I want to contest for an elective office, even the so-called women, they will not vote for the woman.
If you can allow the women to rule, there must be a lot of changes. There must be a lot of changes in Nigeria. Why? Because the old ones don't allow women to come in. Why? Because if women will get about 30, men 30, women 20, we will see there will be a lot of differences in Nigeria.
We are back. This is Petito's Gang. And we're dealing with a very important, very sensitive subject of trying to help women find their voice. Stephen R. Covey had said in his 8 Habits that perhaps the most important habit of the 21st century will be to help people find their voice. The fact that women don't have their voice is hurting all of society. It's not just women. The point remains that women do the most in the raising of children. All of us should do a bit, but women do the most. And their experiences impact how the next generation see the world. If we want our world damaged, then we damage our women. But very importantly, how should we be helping deal with the issues that affect the dignity of women and prevent them from giving their most to the development and growth of our society?
Yes, women should do something, but at the same time,
I think men can be great champions.
Men can do so much more. I mean, I know a young man who told me once that his father told him that he must never marry a woman who would rise above him. So if the woman wanted to go into business, for example, and needed about ₦1 million, he would provide that ₦1 million, but he must make sure that he will make sure, as you know, according to what his dad told him, that if he has 5 million, he must make sure that anytime that woman's money, his wife's money, wants to go beyond 1.2, he will do all he can and ensure that the woman his wife does not rise or get to his level. So fathers, parents, and society at large, should be involved in this fight.
Now, in reality, this society and the values this society projects and the attachment to money, when the women have such financial independence. I'll give you another one. I had a client, she was in the place called Gota, where they sell lace materials. And I remember one day we were discussing, and I just said to her in Yoruba, Okoyinko, and you know her reaction? I don't need a husband. I have money. Did you hear that? I don't need a husband. I have money. I said, oh, that's beautiful. I said, but I also know that you have children, because they mentioned, yeah, when I want a child, I'll get a child, but I have money, so I don't need a husband. Now look at that belief system.
That's our human rights.
That's not.
No, excuse me. It's a problem. It means one thing. If that woman can affect other women, it means the minute I'm financially independent, which is what you were talking about, then she doesn't need anybody.
What is even more important is that the idea of family as a body, corporate unit, one, doesn't matter who earns the money, how much this partner or that partner earns, but that is family. I can speak from my own experience. My father had titles. My mother had the money, and it didn't make any difference. People didn't even know that my mother made more money than my father.
The values were intact then. Your mother still respected him.
I need you to understand.
But the respect should be mutual.
Yeah. No, I even need you to understand that the men sell that idea. The men sell the idea you're talking about, that a woman is only interested in their money.
It's true.
No, you see?
No, that's not true. I totally disagree.
No, I once had a really awkward experience. I was teaching an MBA class. And this woman, who was very senior in her organization, was wearing a really fancy pair of sunglasses. And of course, my teaching style is humor significantly. So I made a joke of fashion moves to the classroom or something like that. Everybody laughed, chuckled. But after class, she came to see me. She was executive MBA class. And she said, I wasn't trying to be fashionable in the class. And then she removed the glasses. Black eye. She said, I got this beating this morning because I didn't pay school fees on time. And she made more money than her husband, and she was responsible for paying most of the bills, and she gets beat up. In a family that is really family, a couple will sit down and look at their resources and work things out. In fact, it's a funny case that I also thought once upon a time. This couple, Americans, of course, were trying to decide how to manage things if they're going to have a baby, who would stay home. And they mutually agreed that the person who was making more money will work. And the person who was making less would stay home and look after the children or child. And as it turned out, at the time that they were having a baby, the wife was making more money. So the man opted to stay home and look after the baby. So to be able to look after the baby properly, and he used to, have to hold the baby and fix things. And he was thinking, this is not a comfortable thing. In the process, he invented something that would enable you to carry a baby and do things at the same time in the front. And guess what? He began to make more money than the woman. So the woman had to come back and take over the business of the house. But you need to have marriage be a matter of engaging each other to recognize that the dignity of both the man and the woman are equal. They may be different, but equal, because they bring different attributes to the table. Educating culture. And this is, again, the tragedy of leadership in Nigeria. The most important thing that leaders do, in my opinion, is influence culture.
Correct.
And culture sets the tone of human progress. Because we don't have the appropriate role models, and they're not setting the example for society, we have these dysfunctions that are preventing us from utilizing the most of the talent pool that our country does have. And I think that is a duty of all of us.
I know a lady, she was earning much more than her husband. They're not together anymore. Every month, she would cash all her money, put it on a tray, kneel down, carry the tray on her head, and just beg her husband, just take it, take everything. Do whatever you want to do with it, but just let me have peace.
One woman.
Peace.
Okay.
And when you push a woman so far back and her back is against the wall, and she has the money, and she has done everything she knows to do, then she takes her money, and then that's when everyone now says, oh, it's because of the money. It's not the money.
Can I share another
All
experience?
the woman wants is just peace.
Let me share another experience. It's the man that wants peace too. The man wants peace. I share another experience. A woman came to me and says she wants to leave her husband. It's another person. What's the problem? He's a stupid man. I said, what is the problem? He's a stupid man. I can't be expected to be staying with a stupid man. He's just lying around in the house.
Not working.
And I like, oh, is that all? I say, okay, good. I'll refer you to a lawyer that can help you out. I don't do divorce cases. Guess what happened? This man spent all that time wondering what he was going to do, because every day he gets tongue lashed. This man, I don't know what he did, but something not too good, and suddenly the money came. And you know what? The same woman came back to me and handed me over an invitation. Oh, that they're actually doing, the first wedding they did wasn't good. It was, so we're now going to do the proper wedding. When I met both of them, the man's name changed from stupid man to honey.
But then again, it could have been that they worked out their issues. It may not necessarily have anything to do
For
with
your
money.
information, I was told, I said, how come you call him honey? She says, no money, no honey. Now, there's too many excuses.
But the most important thing is that there is a need for society to be able to utilize
I agree with that.
And to be intentional about it.
the talent pool of our society, and an environment, a culture in which some of the most talented people don't get to be in places where they should be, is not a culture that will sustain progress in a significant manner. And so we do have a need to educate each other for everybody's self-esteem to rise enough to deal with the other. Why do human beings cooperate? So the fundamental questions of my intellectual life. Why do people cooperate in politics, in whatever? And same as in marriage. Because ultimately, there is a greater good served when both parties feel their dignity elevated and collaborate. This is Partidos Gang. We've got to go. But you can follow us, continuing this conversation, the social media, running through the screens right now, Facebook, Instagram, so on, so forth. We'll see you next week.